welcome back to the Mobility Project. Everyone meet Pon. Say hey, Pon. Pon is an LEO guy here locally, and what's notable is that Pon is training for his second ultramarathon, the Quad Dipsy Redux, and you'll notice that Pon is experiencing something akin to waterboarding. People ask us about the French fry, and this is actually a steel pipe. So you kids who have a hard time, I want to show you how tough Pon is and what's really going on here. John Hill Gardner III, where'd you play football? Colorado, right. So we have a Division I football player talking to his calves. And what's happening is that the key here is that we're getting the smashing, the pancaking of these fibers all the way through. And what's happened is he's systematically working. And what works so well here is that we've got a mobilization with movement. So he's just working on being unglued. And what was your quote, Pon, earlier? Too much running? Too much running. And you know, any sort of compromise that you're making in your activity, you're going to end up with certain patterning. You just have to deal with that patterning. Over here, we've got Coach Roop, and Roop has figured out that you can put a sandbag over your leg and do the same thing by yourself without having a 235-pound Division I football player reefing on your calves. So Roop's got a little weight here. He's going back and forth, and this is just a 50-pound sandbag. Figure out a way to get some load on this. Everyone should have a sandbag for training at home. This is an easy way. So homework number one today is I want you to figure out a way to pancake your legs. This could be maybe put your foot up on a wine bottle, a dough roll, or something like that. It could be anything, but I want you to get some weight, and I want you to try to pancake. If you can get some friends to help you roll, how's that feel, Pon? Better, same, or worse?
Better.
In what way?
I feel like I have more range of motion now.
There it is. So the second thing we're going to work on today is getting unglued of this distal or this kind of posterior tibialis. What you need to know about the posterior tibialis specifically is not that it's a muscle that runs down behind your ankle and gives your arch, supports your arch, but that this muscle gets really tight and then you cannot control your foot very well. So when we see people collapsing, particularly with that kind of knee out position, foot turns out, collapse through, that posterior tib gets put on lengthen because I collapse through the ankle, if you can see that, and then because it's long and weak. And what we need to do is kind of get that thing unglued and spun back on. And a lot of CrossFitters who are missing that external rotation, capacity in the hip to keep the knee out, squat like this, knees come in, the posterior tib gets really tight, or we strike and run, even if we're doing our best to toe strike. So what Roop's going to do is he's going to take the lacrosse ball, actually go ahead and cross your legs, Roop, and he's going to drive that thing in, starting at the base of his knee, little circles, and he's just going to work and find a trigger spot, and then he's going to go ahead and pump his ankle around. So he finds a tough spot, and then specifically we're working hard on getting some motion this way. This is how it really lengthens up. So as that foot drops down and in, that's when that posterior tib comes on tension in that position. You feel that? And now, yes. And now he's pulling that tissue past that tack point. And what you need to know is that what we're interested in is restoring the motion of the ankle. We're less interested in, hey, you have a posterior tib. But posterior tibialis tendonitis is a very common problem. We want to make sure that the tissues are sliding well here, and you'll notice that when he ends up in this position, the skin gets a little bit tacked down here and doesn't slide. So what could he do? He could grab the ball and then, you know, make sure that it gets a little quick stretch and make sure that all of that skin and tissue is gliding around this kind of this medial malleolus, which is the inside of the ankle bone. But in the meantime, he's going to go ahead and tack that thing down, find a spot, and then he's going to pump that ankle down and bring it down and in, and that really puts that thing on stretch, and he really unglues these tissues. These tissues get stuck down. We're seeing more and more people do the paleo thing. They're not replacing any electrolytes. There's the middle of his shin. If I drive my thumb into his shin for a count of 5, 3, 2, 1, I should not see a bump there. And the fact that I can see my bump there tells me that Roop is on a pretty strict paleo diet and his tissues are not getting enough hydration. So make sure you're adding that Ultima, make sure you're adding some essential electrolytes after your training. Turns out that potato mash and applesauce is not good enough. So homework number 2 is going to just unglue this, and then we're going to go ahead and have Roop flip onto his Flexor WOD right here, and he's going to unpancake and glue right in here to this kind of hip flexor mass. So he's in the TFL. I think Sartorius comes in there, and he's just going to roll back and forth. He's not making a pain face, right? And he's just ungluing those tissues right on the inside of his hip. So can you sit up and show us where that is?
Yep.
So the idea and theme today is to unglue. So he's right in this flexor mass right here, and he's going to unglue that business, okay? So then finally, final piece, I'm going to hand that to you. great, is that we're going to go ahead and cultivate a few more minutes in the dreaded squat position. So pull yourself down, really wind that stuff up, lock the feet down till as far as you can, and what you're going to see is as soon as you get wide in a good position, your legs are going to want to start to come in. That's where I want you to start to apply the torque out here. So camp out in these positions, shove those knees out, keep walking the feet out, and then I want you to get 3 or 4 minutes in this position, and it's going to feel like a deep, deep, deep groin pull, deep, deep kind of gnarly stretch here, all right? That's what's going on for today.